Psychic network. Are you wired in? Okay, so basically, let's get a bit cozy. I'm kind of like trapped here because I wanted to bring the whiteboard closer to you guys, and you still can't see it either. So annoying. Gotta just turn the brightness like way up. Good louder. Anyways, what does psychic network? When I talk about that, what I refer to is that the mind flayer, it doesn't really spread through proximity. Not really. Doesn't spread through. Doesn't move across space. It spreads through connection, and it moves across people. You know, because it isn't really about distance or location, even though through connection you can find out where you are sometimes, like in season 2 and Will. But other than that, it's like it's not really about distance or location. It's actually about resonance. That's kind of what is the main. That's how he's able to make the connection in the first place. It's just always through resonance, you know. And minds connect through trauma, emotion, and psychic similarity, you know. So again, the mind flare doesn't move across space, it moves across people. And there's a number of people and many types of psychic links in this network that I'm gonna briefly explain, because I don't need to like go into every single person. I'm not gonna do that, but I will write it on the board. Yay! The board. So we got blood. This is supposed to be blood. We got bloodline frequency. So this is Henry L. Callie. Now we talk about Callie just very briefly because, okay, who was not surprised that it was Callie there? I always knew that because she was the only other test subject that, you know, survived. She escaped. I knew she was gonna be in here somehow, especially when I was going through this theory. It was like, okay, who else has a connection to Henry? Callie. So she's definitely a wild card because she doesn't really have the Hawkins impact that Dimension X has had on everyone else. So, but yeah, do they have the same psychic signal? That is why L can reopen the gate. And again, I've already kind of mentioned this along the video. You know, she doesn't find Dimension X, she resonates with it. She doesn't know what it is, where it is, but she keeps opening that door because they have the same psychic signal. This was this quick context, side context. And other type of psychic link is trauma and emotional imprint. Will, Max, the other victims. Can y'all see that? The seasons, so like Billy, Heather, Chrissy, Fred, you know, all of those. These were open minds, you know, because they had the traumas. Vecna was able to get to those traumas. This trauma, it creates access points. So that's why they're also another link. So if we have sustained contact, so like possession, immersing in that environment, in the mindscape, just having those like prolonged exposures, that's how the network is going to strengthen over time. So if we just focus on L for a moment. Okay. She's not just a fighter, she's the bridge. I mean, she connects the worlds, she connects minds, and she stabilizes the breaches. You know, she's able to open and close them. And she's pretty much the only one that can really move in between, and she's not claimed by either side, even if one was just very much wanted to get on her side. Because like I said, even when they were in the mindscape or in the mind layer, when she was like attacking him and she was just trying to, you know, like do some damage and kill him in there, he didn't necessarily do a lot of that back, even though he did try to, but in a way that it's just like this is my like thought. Like, he could have, you know, did like a soul kill, you know, when you know, like, he could have done that to Elle by now, but he kind of how let's put this into words, shall we? What I'm trying to say is that he can't treat her like other victims, because she's not a passive node. Like, she's not really a passive connection. She's fought back from the very beginning. She's a rival access point. Obviously, she's part of the same psychic frequency. So instead of actually, like, you know, extracting her consciousness, he tries to overpower her, to immobilize her and cut her off physically using the vines, which for me reveals something, that Elle is not really a prey in the space. She's more like a competing operator. Now, do what you want with that information. I don't know, like, but what it means to me is that that psychic space is contested territory. It's not really a trap, not for her. Well, don't get me wrong, like, she almost dies in there, really, you know, because she's getting strangled and the environment is acting very, like, violently against her, because it's just defending the space. You know, he is fighting the system through him. That's why the stakes are so high at that point. But what I'm essentially just trying to get at is that, you know, she can manipulate that environment too. I feel like she could. That's why he doesn't, like, do like a soul kill or anything. It's just a thought. It's just a thought, really. So yeah, back to what I was saying. You know, she connects worlds, minds, and stabilizes breaches. She can open and close them. She's the only one that can really move in between, and she's not really fully claimed by either side. So she doesn't destroy the whole network. You know, she keeps it open long enough to change it. So again, she's not just a fighter, she's the bridge. On to Will. Can y'all see that? He is the anchor, okay? He is the anchor inside the system because he was the first imprint. He feels Vecna because he's wired into that infrastructure, and he senses changes before they happen, or as they're happening through the eyes of other creatures in the hive mind. You know, he has those visions. If L is the bridge, then Will is the nerve. Earlier I was like, okay, so if killing his body is not enough, Vecna's body, then how do you actually kill Vecna? And because we now know that Vecna is part of a system, codependent on this system, how do we destabilize it? In my point of view, network collapses when its links stop feeding it. And what do I mean by that? Well, there needs to be psychic resistance. There needs to be emotional integration, connection between people, and breaking isolation. I'm gonna break that down. So psychic resistance is simply just like fighting him in that space, in the mind space. Not that it will be enough, but it's definitely crucial. It is crucial because that's where the control logic lies. Emotional integration is exactly the opposite of what Beckner does, because the system needs unresolved traumas, unresolved emotions that loop and loops of fear, guilt, shame, grief, and isolation. So people trapped alone in their heads. That's the fuel. So emotional integration will be just breaking that cycle. We'll be breaking that cycle, which will be actually resolving those emotions. Even though the pain doesn't disappear or the memory doesn't disappear, it just stops looping. It stops getting played over and over again. The emotion actually gets acknowledged. It gets shared instead of isolated, and it gets connected to others' experiences. So that's what matters, and that's how the system loses its grip. So you don't kill the brain by hitting it. You kill it by starving it. And that's exactly how that can be done.